Hi, everybody, and welcome to our Friday night educational series. I am here again, this time with Jay Verna, not just his voice. I'm Beth from Wellness 360, where we treat disease management through group fitness classes. And we work very closely with the Webster Recreational Center. This is Jay Verna. This is the voice behind the phone 2 weeks ago. Jay, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what you do.
All right, I am Jay Verna. As you said, I work for the town of Webster at the Webster Recreation Center. Um, I am the fitness specialist, if we're going to be technical with titles here. Basically means I handle all the fitness programming, staff, oversee the physical facility of the fitness center, programming, coaching, stuff like what we're doing right here, educational stuff. So that's kind of it in a very brief nutshell.
That's awesome, and I'm sure we'll hear a little more throughout this educational series. So Wellness 360, every Friday night we do an educational series. We try to have it on at 7 o'clock. Unfortunately, computers is not our strong suit. So
Not at all.
so I am on the computer at 7 o'clock trying to get it to post. So hopefully today it posts right on time. So I know that Jay shares my feeling here that we believe in education. Education is the only way that our participants on our classes, that people are trying to make their lives healthier, they have to have the education, and you have to seek the education. So we're just trying to make it a little easier, having different guest speakers on. I love when we have Jay on because he's so knowledgeable and can add so much to the conversation. So how to train after age 40. When Jay came up with this idea of topic, I was super excited because I am over 40 and I have noticed a significant difference in my training after I hit the age of 40. So we are going to discuss all about exercise considerations as we age today. All right, Jay, take it away. We'll let you get it started.
All right, I think we're both living that. And let's face it, that's probably the growing demographic, certainly what we work with in the fitness and wellness space. So in a lot of what we'll talk about today is actually from experience. A lot of research-based stuff, but certainly living it and kind of finding out what it is, what works best for you. So I think maybe starting with some general considerations when we're talking about exercise after 40, what to think about when we're looking to program exercise. And I think one of the first things I think about is what is your training age? So in other words, how long have you actually been working out, lifting weights, whatever it might be. If you're just starting after 40, it's going to be a little bit different than if you had been doing it for the last 20, 30 years, like I have been doing. So that's one thing to think about, I think, and obviously you can jump in as we go here if you think of anything.
Absolutely. Also the weekend warrior. I know a lot of people that we treat in physical therapy at Genesee Valley Physical Therapy are those people thinking, hey, I kind of work out and not a regular schedule, and I'm going to go do a 5K, or I'm going to go do one of these mud runs, or I'm going to go play football with my kids over the weekend. And they
Right.
realize the shape that they're in is not always what they thought.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that's a really good point. I think a really big thing is also considering all the other stressors in your life. Obviously, exercise is a stress. It's a good one, but it certainly will add to that stress bucket. So if you got a lot going on in your life, a lot of us are now in terms of anxiety and depression. Um, but if there's a lot of stress, adding exercise could be a good thing, but you might also want to look at something we talked about last time. We did one of these Facebook Lives together, is shoring up your sleep and your stress management, because that's going to be a big part of being able to manage and recover from exercise as you age as well. The other thing
I'm
is
going to
too,
put a little plug in there. My
sure.
mindfulness class, I think really the most important thing that I could think of when we were reviewing these topics is learning to listen to your body. So
Oh
many
yeah,
people
that's
are so
big.
disconnected with their body that they don't know why they're sore, how they got sore. They don't know what exercise they were doing. They don't remember. Oh, I don't remember when I started to feel sore. I don't know if it was a day ago, 2 days ago. It just kind of happened. So just bringing that awareness back to your body and how you're feeling and knowing your body, knowing how you react, is really important process as we age.
Oh yeah, I agree. And I think a lot of times people just assume that you're supposed to be sore and you're supposed to feel, crappy as you age. It's just one of those things we have to deal with. And it's really not the case. As we will talk more about as we go on with this talk, I think it's really important to distinguish what is good and what is not so good in terms of what our bodies are telling us. So definitely a good point. Some other obvious things, or maybe they're not so obvious, but what is your current and past medical and injury history? Those are going to be things that we'll certainly we'll have to consider when programming exercise at really any age, but certainly as we get older, it's going to be even more critical, I think, to make sure that we're managing everything properly. One of the other things that I like to think about is, finding that sweet spot between recovery and training intensity. And a lot of it's going to be a little bit of self-experimentation, but we can certainly help, I think, doing some things to get people there. And I can certainly relate some experiences that I've had myself as I've gotten older, because I think a lot of what we do in the gym or fitness wise can go one of two ways. It can either make us better and feel good, or it can kind of break us down. So I think it's really important to distinguish between those two things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And a big bonus that I think we need to really just generally is the recovery time, taking time to recovery, to recover. I know so many people. I'm involved in a lot of groups and I live in the exercise world, in the exercise industry. And people have a misconception that you have to go, that you can't take breaks. But we'll talk a little bit more later about the recovery and how important that recovery time is to allow your body to heal, your muscles to heal, and not overexert your system.
Yeah. And how that changes as you get older too.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Jay, what is better, intensity or consistency?
I think
I have
both.
my answer, but we'll let Jay go first.
All right. Yeah, I think they're both important. Consistency, I think, is always going to trump anything else that we do in the exercise and fitness world. As long as you're doing something consistently, you're gonna see some positive benefits. But when it comes to intensity, I think the biggest change is not so much that we can't do intense exercise. I think it's the frequency in which we expose ourselves to those intense efforts, if that makes sense. So,
Yeah.
When I was 20, 25, I could do it 5-6 days a week and, stay up late and drink and do whatever I want. And it never really seemed to have an adverse effect. Fast forward a bunch of years, and that's obviously changed.
Technical, but yes, a bunch of years.
Yeah. So I think it's important to have a certain amount of intensity, but the frequency is certainly going to be a lot different. And I can give some examples as we move forward. Certainly what's worked for me. I think everybody's going to have to kind of play around with it. But I'd certainly be happy to relate some of the changes I've made that have helped me.
Yeah, definitely. We want to give you enough education that you can kind of gauge things yourself. And again, number one being listening to your body, learning how to listen to your body. When I know for me, I get a lot of people that say, "Oh no, I'm good. I just run, or I just hit the cardio, or but people don't realize that cardio over and over and over without any strength training really breaks down a lot of muscle tissue. And I think it's super important to express the importance of just having the consistency, having a plan, making sure you're not just getting just cardio, that you're getting a balanced strength training balance, which I'm going to get into a little later because that's something close to my heart with the people that I do work with. But remember, as we're getting older, our hormones are shifting. So back to what Jay was saying earlier is stress and sleep management is so important because especially for females, when your hormones start hitting you in your 40s and 50s, you're going to start gaining a lot more weight. Well, in your mind, you're thinking, oh, well, I'm putting on more weight, I need to get on the treadmill, or I need to just hammer out all of this cardio to get this weight gain. But all you're doing is adding more stress to your body, and you're getting more cortisol release, and you're kind of working against yourself instead of with your body the way that it is. So I definitely agree with consistency. Again, the weekend warrior thing. I will go through spurts of time where I don't do anything because I'm busy or I'm not making myself a priority, which I do not encourage, but it happens. And then all of a sudden, you know, my girlfriend will call and say, hey, we're going to go do a 90-minute spin class, or we're going to go this or that. And I'm like, oh yeah, let's do GVPT. We do hikes. Hey, we're going to go hike 7 miles up this mountain. And then I feel like I'm dying and I end up hurting myself. And then you hurt yourself, you get frustrated, and then you can't follow through with consistency because you hurt all the time.
Yeah, no, that's a really good point. And I think I'll also add that any form of exercise done excessively can lead to that increase in stress and body breakdown, not necessarily just cardio. There's a lot of us meatheads that have spent a lot of time in the gym with the iron over the years, and that certainly can drive you into the ground just as easy as excessive being out and running and doing those type of things too. So I think, again, activity is really the key. Finding things that you enjoy, and then also sprinkling some variety and balance in there with some strength training. And we'll talk about a little bit more, but I think there's so many benefits to strength training beyond just getting strong, being leaner, improving your physique and aesthetics. All those things are great, but there's so many other things that they can help us with as we get older, as we will soon see.
Absolutely. So I'm going to let Jay take this next topic. I love to do HIIT training, but I am curious to see what Jay has to say about this. So where does HIIT fit into my programming? So let's start there. First, let's do a little explanation of what HIIT is, those high bursts of intensity, but I'll let you take over from there.
Yeah, HIIT, H-I-I-T, high intensity interval training. It's very popular. I think it's a great form of exercise. We have a variety of those types of classes actually at the rec center, and they tend to be our most popular. And I think from the standpoint of what's really in vogue and what has been in vogue in the fitness field for a long time are those types of classes, because they kind of pack a lot of bang for the buck, so to speak. So basically, it's getting your heart rate up, doing something very intense, followed by some sort of rest interval, and done repeated for typically anywhere from 30 to 60 minutes. And I think it definitely has its place. And I think we need to continue to do that even as we age. I think what we have to look at even more closely is the type of exercise that we're doing. Can our body handle, impact or certain exercises? This is going to be the same, I think, even if you're younger and you're new to exercise. I'll talk a little bit later on in our conversation here about, just getting started, how to program and progress exercise. But I think having that intensity is really, really important. So it could be something as simple, if you're new to it, is doing a basic beginner type of boot camp class where you're just building your work capacity, getting used to the movements, the exercises, kind of building a foundation. If you've already been doing that for years and years, I think just kind of continue with what you're doing. Maybe you just don't do it daily, or maybe it's 2 or 3 times a week with lower to moderate intensity workouts in between. So I think, yes, definitely it's something that's important to do, have that intensity. As I said earlier, the frequency with which you're doing it, though, is going to decline or be less. And it's not so much me just stating that as a rule. That's what's going to happen. You're going to find that your body's not going to be able to handle that kind of high intensity as you get older. You got to be a little bit more strategic, I think, with your programming when it comes to that.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that on personal basis, and from what I've researched and what we do with our people. We in our classes, we do a lot of HIIT training. We do a lot of shorter burst of high intensity, and then slowing it down with some really nice and controlled And for us, for a lot of the people that we work with, because we do work in disease management, group fitness for disease management, we do a lot of that even to work on transitioning as you're older, just transitioning from that. When you have cognitive or you have physical ailments, sometimes even that transitioning into one exercise to another can be really tough. So, so on my end, doing the high intensity and then boom, slowing it down to something really controlled and really purposeful can be really difficult for some people as they age. It can be really
Absolutely.
hard.
Yeah.
So I do it for more reasons than even just the fitness reason.
Right. No,
So
and yeah.
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think that's a key point. Is it's not necessarily all about just being fit. It's what can we do to be, to use an used word, more functional as we age, to maintain independence. Those are the things I think that become really big as we get older. Is what can I do to continue to do the things that I've been doing, that I need to do, that I want to do, and continue to do them for as many years as possible.
Yeah, and that's the whole basis on everything that we do at Wellness 360, because for us, yes, fitness is a huge part of it, but you know, some of these people, they want to continue to hike, they want to continue to bike, they want to continue to be able to play with their grandkids, they want to continue to carry their own laundry up and down the stairs without hurting their back. There's so many things that happen as we age and our muscles start to weaken and we're not using the appropriate muscles, which I think is something that's really important to talk about, is you know, constantly training those bigger, larger muscles. We're missing out on some of those smaller, stabilizing muscles. They get weak. You think, oh, well, I'm super strong. All of a sudden you throw a baseball and your rotator cuffs tore. So, you know, those are things that we deal with all the time. So we'll definitely get into that a little later too. So I'm getting old. Can I still do power or explosive training? I have to be honest, besides the occasional jumping, I don't do this kind of training, nor do we do it with our people. So I want you
Yeah.
to take this one.
Yeah. I think when we think of power type exercises or plyometrics, we automatically think high level athletes, explosive Olympic lifts, things like that. All those things can be appropriate, but as we age, I think it's important that they're scaled to people's abilities in their current condition, in their current fitness level. So I think a lot of it is just thinking, adding a velocity or speed component to basic exercises that we already do. So they don't have to jump up onto a box or jump down and land off of a box. It could be something as simple as having them do their body weight squats, go down and come back up as quickly as they can. It could be coming up on your toes and then down into a squat. It could be doing a lot of what I like to do, and I'll do this with some of my Move Well classes that tend to have older demographic in them, is having them do like high knee marches or skips or side to side hops or quick steps. So it's anything that really adds a speed or velocity component to it is going to be very helpful to maintain that kind of reactive power output, which again can really be helpful as we get older to avoid falls. You know, you step wrong off a curb. If you can't react quick enough to get that foot underneath you to break the fall, you're probably going to get hurt. So to me, that's where power type training is certainly appropriate. And again, just scaled to ability as people get older. I've seen people that are in their 70s that can still do box jumps and stay healthy. Others, again, we just scale it to their ability. So I think just keeping it simple and adding a bit of a speed component is really what it comes down to.
Definitely. And when we teach our classes, I know at Wellness 360, and I'm sure talking to you, you do the same. We have a lot of different fitness levels in each class. So that's what it's really important. And I know that Jay does this, and I know that we require it at Wellness 360. I can't say that it's a requirement because I don't know for Webster Parks and Rec, but we do we do a health assessment. We do you know, screenings for your, you know, where you're at, where your fitness levels are. That way, when we design the classes, because at Wellness 360, you they're designed by healthcare professionals. We design it per the people taking it. So we have a lot of modifications. So someone might be doing a jump squat while someone might be doing a jump or a squat into toe, up on your tippy toes.
Right. Right.
And then some just do the squat. So we have all of these different modifications per that one exercise. So if you're doing a tape at home or you're doing something at home, I know I've made some videos, Jay's made a ton of videos, but there's modifications. There's modifications. If you have wrist pain, to do a push-up, do them on a wall, do them on a chair, hold dumbbells in your hand so that when you're doing it, your wrist is more supported. So there's tons of way that you can continue to be healthy, modifying that one exercise 100 different ways to fit you personally. So
yeah, absolutely. It's fitting the exercise to you, not you to the exercise, I think is an important distinction there, because all too many times people want to do something a specific way, and while maybe that's not the best way for you, let's find the one that works best for you as the individual.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And some of them are researchable. I know that I'm always available if anyone has questions or comments, and Jay's door is always open when we're in business.
Literally.
And
even now it's still open.
When we were still open, we don't have to do it virtually, but I know emails and things like that, we're always available. So if you're at home now, you're used to Jay, you're used to the Webster Rec Center, you've heard me, you've been around me, maybe you take one of my yoga classes or one of my Wellness 360 classes, we are available all the time to answer those questions.
Absolutely. And I think these type of presentations, we're looking to stimulate some conversation with everybody. So if there's something that you want to see us do or include in a class, or you just have a question on, absolutely. Email, whatever.
Post it below. Post it in the comment section below when this airs.
Even better.
And if you have a question about a modification, Jay and I will put a picture of ourselves doing that exercise in the comments. Yep. So we can roll with this. We can do comments, post something below if you have a question, and we can absolutely answer those questions in the comments below. So keep us posted. Let us know. Let's talk recovery.
Yeah, that's a presentation that we can spend hours or days on alone, but we won't obviously take that long. But there's a lot of things that go into it. And again, there's a lot of science behind all this, which I think is important to note. But a lot of this stuff is really common sense. It's stuff that we're told all the time. It's stuff that we kind of know intuitively, but it bears repeating. And number one on my recovery list, again, is sleep. We had that whole presentation last time on it. So I'm not going to spend too much time on it, but again, if you're not sleeping properly or doing whatever you can to make sure you're getting the most quality and quantity of sleep, it's certainly going to make physical activity and purposeful exercise that much tougher, as well as a lot tougher to recover from. Along with that too is stress management, but proper nutrition, staying hydrated.
I was just going to say hydration.
Oh, yep. That's a big thing. And then some other things too that I think are good to know, because one of the things that I see a lot in teaching and coaching, one of the first things that tends to go after, especially an intense exercise session, is, well, what can I do to jumpstart recovery right then and there before I leave the fitness center, before I leave the class? So immediately following, what I like to do both personally and in the workouts and classes that I program is before, we're done with the session, whether it's some kind of gradual cool down, a lot of times I like to incorporate mobility type circuits where we're doing a lot of the same movements maybe we did in class or in the workout, but doing them more body weight or low level and focusing more on a mobility component. The other thing I really like to do that I think is awesome, if you only have a couple minutes with people, is just get them to do some kind of positional breathing drill for 2 or 3 minutes before they leave. And that really will help jumpstart that whole recovery process. But along with all those things too, And I've done some videos on our YouTube channel about this stuff, and we can certainly do more. And if there's questions about it, certainly come see me. But soft tissue maintenance, I think that's a big thing, especially as we get older. That could be going to a massage therapist. I believe, Beth, you're a massage therapist.
I am official now. The certificate's
yes,
on my wall. It's taken me 5 years to get that license transferred, but it's here.
Yeah, and once things open back up, you can certainly see Beth about that. But there's also a lot of self massage or myofascial techniques, they call them, that you can do, foam rollers, things like that. So a lot of that is going to play a big role in what you do after your exercise, particularly those more intense exercise bouts you have, whether it's immediately post-exercise or hours later or the next day. The other thing too that I think that factors into recovery is just low to moderate aerobic activity. Getting out there and walking and moving multiple times throughout the day, even if it's just changing positions, going for a walk, easy jog if you like to run, jumping on a bike. It could be so many different things. Again, one of my personal favorite ways to do it, because it kills several birds with one stone, is just putting together 15, 20-minute mobility circuits where I can get a low-level aerobic benefit out of it, but I'm also addressing maybe some movement deficiencies or areas of need, and just moving my body in ways that maybe I'm not doing throughout the normal course of my day. So all those things I think are really, really important. The other thing to think about, and again, this is a little bit more technical, but I'm sure there's some people out there that like to that have fitness trackers and sleep trackers, is the whole concept of HRV. I'm sure you've heard of that. And that's basically just a measure of the variability or the variation between heartbeats. I'm not going to get into the science behind it. It's actually quite interesting and fascinating, but essentially is the higher that variability basically shows that you are more fully recovered, and then you're ready to hit it hard again in the gym. So if you want something that is going to give you some more specific data to actually show you beyond just how you feel, that's certainly something to look into.
Yeah, I actually am heart math certified, so I do heart rate variability. It's more along the lines for stress reduction. So it's like a biofeedback for stress reduction, but to get you to become aware of your body and where your body is in that moment, to make you more self-aware of being able to tell when you're in a state of stress or and when you're in a state of ease. But it's really awesome if you get a chance. It's very confusing, very scientific. Even me working in the healthcare profession, it took me a couple times to read it to really understand just the surface, but it's still really, really awesome.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think the technology is getting better. But again, for those that kind of like to nerd out to the science a little bit, or like to have some kind of data point that's telling them, okay, my body is ready, it is recovered. That's where I think something like heart rate variability would come in.
Absolutely. So let's talk goal setting. Goal setting over 40. So again, this is a lot of opinion. So Jay and I may not agree completely, but that's because we're two different people, female, male, different styles. But for me, goal setting is consistency. Even in my recovery days, I still schedule myself to do something because I'm the type of person that needs the schedule. I need to have it on my schedule. So even if it's just sitting and doing meditation and breath work, that's my activity for the day. For me, I need to be consistent with setting that half hour, 45 minutes away every day. Because if I skip Sunday and say, oh, well, today's just my recovery day, I'm going to skip Monday. And then I'm going to skip Tuesday. I might get a little something in on Wednesday. But for me, I personally have to be consistent. So like you said before, my rest day might be just a walk with the dog, but it's purposeful. It might be a little gentle yoga. It might be just some breath work and meditation. So that's, for me, number one is making sure I have something for me on the schedule every day.
Oh, I think that's a great idea. And one of the things that I've gotten much better at, and I think is a kind of a cool little hack, so to speak, if you're having trouble getting started with just doing something, is I like to think of it as just committing to the warm-up. So if you have a workout plan, but you're not really feeling too up to it, and this sometimes happens to me, it's like, well, you know what? I'm just going to spend 5 minutes doing some kind of purposeful warm up, and typically that will lead me to feeling better and to kind of dive right into what I was planning on doing. So just commit to, 2, 3, 5 minutes of some kind of low level activity. And oftentimes that will lead to something even more purposeful and longer in duration. So
I actually want to add to that, Jay, from the physical therapy standpoint. That's an awesome idea. So I get a lot of people say, I couldn't work out because my whole body hurt. Well, guess what, everyone? If you are over the age of 40 and have lived any form of life in your past 40 years, you're going to hurt.
Yeah.
Your joints are going to be sore. You're going to be uncomfortable. But the worst thing you can do for arthritis is sitting. The worst thing you can do for your bones and your joints is not doing anything. So what motion kind of turns the switch on for synovial fluid to be produced in your joints? Synovial fluid is going to cushion the joints. So that's why when you wake up in the morning and you put your feet on the ground and you got to step kind of funny for the first couple steps because they hurt, it's just because you've been at rest. There's been no synovial fluid pumping. So but then as you move, someone says, well, after I get out of the shower, I feel a little bit better. That's because you've had that heat from the shower. You've had that motion. You've moved around. So even like Jay said, just committing to the 5 to 10 minute warm up, a lot of times that soreness will dissipate and you'll feel amazing.
Yeah. And you'll be just motivated to do more. And the flip side of that coin, if nothing else, you've gotten 5 to 10 minutes of some activity that you wouldn't have had before. And I think, that can't go understated. And I think, when we look at goal setting, it's very much individual at any time of our lives. But I think different things become more important, perspective changes. So instead of maybe, wanting to look a certain way or chase aesthetics, which there's nothing wrong with that. And you can certainly do that over the age of 40. But it's more like, what are those things that are going to allow me to stay independent, to maintain my strength so I can, like you say, play with the grandkids, do all those activities that I enjoy doing, getting out in my garden, going for walks, going for hikes, mountain climbing, whatever it might be. So I think there's a lot of different things that come into play, and I think our perspectives change and our goals tend to change as a result of that.
Yeah, and I feel like making sure you're getting a little bit of everything, getting your core strength, getting your strength training, getting your flexibility training, they're all, and not to overwhelm you and like, how in the world do I put a program like that together? But just even if you're thinking just basic, making sure you're getting your warm up in, making sure you're getting your heart rate up, making sure you're using some form of weight at some point in your week, whether it's body weight, bands, dumbbells, machines, making sure that maybe you're doing, as your cool down, a little bit of stretching or your foam rolling or yoga, like just try to incorporate them all, because as we age, the muscles around our joints will weaken. And when the muscles weaken, sometimes we can get stiff because your body reacts to that weakness in the joints and it tightens up that joint area. Or reverse, you can have more chances of injury, of shoulder problems, knee problems. So again, back to what Jay was saying, is having goals more on function and less on aesthetics, because I tell my one class I have, I teach a class of seniors, and I make them get on the ground. And the reason I do that is I say, because when you stop getting on the ground, you're going to stop getting on the ground.
And getting back up.
And getting back up, which is a huge problem. You don't realize, and if you avoid, oh, well, I can't go to the floor. And I'm not telling anyone that they have to go get on the floor right now, but like doing in my classes, people fall, things happen. And it's not until they're stuck on the ground for a few hours with no way to get up that they realize that, wow, I probably should have been practicing this. Yeah. Or so core strength, back pain. Core strength is one of the #1 things to treat back pain. You don't realize those little tiny muscles going up your spine have weakened, and they're not because you're not using them. Yeah. So getting out of a chair.
Yeah.
Core strength. I have people that sit down and they're like, I can't get out of the chair. I mean, pelvic floor, do a Kegel, do some core strengthening exercises, and you wouldn't believe how much easier it is to get out of a chair.
Yeah, and obviously there's certain uncontrollable circumstances in
Obviously.
that keep us from moving the way we want to. But if you think about it, when we're kids, we don't even think about it. We move indiscriminately. We do all kinds of things, and as we get older, you know, whether it's our jobs or whatever, we tend to get away from that, and then all of a sudden we have kids of our own, or fast forward to having grandkids, and you want to be out there with them, but you can barely keep up with them. I like to tell people all the time, similar to what you say, get down on the floor. A lot of things are uncomfortable, but it's going to be a lot worse if you don't do them. I mean, it's kind of an obvious statement, but if you stop moving, you're going to lose the ability to move. It's as simple as that. So if you think about most of our adult lives, especially in developed society that we live in, we spend a lot of time sitting in front of screens, kind of what we're doing right now. But having regular movement breaks to kind of disrupt all that sitting and all that lack of activity, it can actually goes a long way towards keeping you independent, keeping you mobile. Again, I think that whatever it is that you like to do, activity-wise, do it. Like you said, Beth, I think having a good balance is good, incorporating some kind of strength training. One little fact to throw out there that'll put things in perspective, once we hit 40, we tend to lose about 1% of our muscle mass every year thereafter. So you think about it, that's 10%.
It gets worse every decade.
Well, yeah, so you figure 10% every decade after 40. What does that mean? Well, it means, we have less strength to do all those things that, activities of daily living, not to mention those things that we actually might want to do, get enjoyment out of. So how do we combat that? Well, a properly progressed strength training program. And again, it doesn't have to be anything intimidating. I think a lot of times people think when it comes to strength training that, especially when they see the free weight side of the gym, it's very intimidating. And that's why I do a strength and conditioning class at the rec center. And the whole idea is just to take that intimidation factor out of it. But again, body weight, bands, it could be low level things. We have a TheraBand class where you can get some really great strength training in. So there's a lot of different ways to do it. But the bottom line is doing something on a regular basis can go a long way towards keeping you independent and doing those things that you really want to do.
Absolutely. Balance. People don't even think about training their balance, but we actually have a class at Wellness 360 devoted specifically to balance, because when your core strength grows, as we age, it takes your proprioceptors, your eyesight, and your hearing for your balance. And as we get older, or what happens to our eyesight? I have my first pair of glasses. Your eyesight starts to go. Your hearing starts to go. Things start to go. And when those go, so does your balance. Neuropathy from diabetes or other circumstances. So when those things go, but the good news is balance is just like training a muscle. The more you do it, the better you become, and your body will compensate for the lacking of the hearing, the proprioceptors, or the sight. So just having really strong core strength will help you maintain balance through your day. It'll compensate for the losses that are happening naturally to you. So balance training is really important.
Yeah.
This is one of the reasons I love yoga so much, because you have your body weight training, you have your fluid movements, you have your flexibility, you have your balance, you have your core, everything. I just love it. It's gentle.
Breathing.
But that's what I love. So that's what I do. Not everyone loves it. I know my
Right.
girlfriend hates yoga. She despises it. But one little tip I want to give for my walkers, we have a lot of walkers out there, which I think is amazing. So I don't want to knock it. I think it's great. But I have treated people at Genesee Valley Physical Therapy because they walk the same path every day. And what happens, you don't think about it. You think about it more in West Virginia because it's really hilly in West Virginia where I come from. But some people, they end up with getting hip bursitis or foot problems because they're walking the same path. And if you have just a little kind of tilt or turn in that pavement, and that's what you're walking, that leg is always walking irregular because of the tilt in the pavement. So all I'm saying there is, if you're walking, change your surfaces. If you go down your driveway and go to the right, the next day go to the left, or walk a different loop, or take a hike, or drive to one of the parks and go for a walk. Because if you do walking every single day on the same path, your body is going to compensate to that. So that's kind of a silly plug, but I have treated more than one person from having discomfort after walking the same path every day.
Yeah, I think movement variability should be a staple in everybody's, regular activity plan on a daily basis. In other words, just yeah, change up the terrain, the incline if you're walking, walk different paths, walk in the woods some days, walk on pavement the others. How I like to deal with balance is, because I think sometimes, and I'm sure you've noticed this too, Beth, in the fitness and wellness space, we tend to make things more complicated than they need to be, because things that kind of look cool and sexy kind of sell. But if you just get people to do basic fundamental movements, moving in multiple planes of movement on a regular basis, that's going to go a long way towards balance. So you don't have to do anything really super fancy. Just learn how to squat and in lunge and do it in different planes, move to your side, do things like shuffling or sidestepping, add rotational components. And there's a lot of different ways we can progress this, but I'm a big believer in keeping things simple and attainable. And actually, you know what? Vanilla is kind of the flavor, that we really need to focus on.
My favorite flavor.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and again, kind of, I mean this somewhat kiddingly when I say it, but I tend to be the person that does all the unsexy stuff, teaches those classes that really no one else wants to teach, because it's basically about fundamentals. There's nothing mind-blowing once you get it, just learning how to move. But then once you take that, you can, if that's what your goals are and you want to go on to a higher level class or activity, absolutely do it. But I'm fine with that, because to me, I think without a strong foundation, all those things that we're talking about, pain, injuries, falling, fractures, all that type of stuff is going to certainly be at more, you could be more at risk for those type of things happening. So don't be afraid to keep things easy.
You build a house. Do you want to build your house on a firm foundation, or do you want to build your house on something half built and crumbly? You want to make sure that, and I've taken one of Jay's, he did a talk for us, and it's phenomenal. Even in the physical therapy background, watching his take on movement and the importance of the foundation was really eye-opening, even for myself. And I've taken some of those things that he talked about in my own practice, because it's so true. You do a squat, people are like always doing the same squat, and they're doing it fast. Like, slow it down, take a step to the side. Our glute muscles have 3 and 4 different fibers, and they're all running in different directions. So if you're always working in that same plane, you're going to have real instability and imbalances in your hips. When you have imbalances in your hips, all of a sudden we start getting bursitis, we start getting low back pain, we start getting all of these weird pulls of our pelvis, having a SI dysfunction, all of these things, because we're only training in one plane, we're training in one field. So when you're out for your walk, take a couple steps and walk sideways for a while. You're going to look silly, but just like Jay said, that's what we do. We do the unsexy stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think all that stuff is really important. It's again, I try to boil things down to its simplest component. For most people, it's just moving. It's doing something different, changing up the patterns. And for those people that want to have a little bit more variability, to me, you have to. There's a reason for discomfort. If you're experiencing pain or dysfunction, I kind of, as I've gotten older, because believe me, I've made a lot of these mistakes where it's like, man, do I really have to spend all this time warming up? I just want to pick this piece of iron up off the ground. I just want to get to the meat and potatoes of it. And I used to be able to do that. But one of the things that has become firmly ingrained in me is that if you have to get comfortable with doing all those things that you don't want to do in order to do the things that you want to do. So doing the warm up, doing your mobility drills, doing your self-massage techniques. And this is stuff that's got to happen on a regular basis. The more active you want to be, the loftier your goals are, the more you're going to have to do those things. And there's no way around it. You can talk to any fitness professional. You can pick your favorite shirtless Instagram fitness model. Anybody that's been in this field or that's been active for any length of time, they've dealt with pain and dysfunction, and most of them probably still are. I mean, I know if I don't do things the right way, I wake up, I feel like I'm 90 years old sometimes. So,
you're going to injure yourself.
Go ahead. What's that?
No, you're going to injure yourself. There is no other way. It just is. And then you're not going to do it at all.
And eventually you stop banging your head against the wall and you realize, okay, this is what I need to do. And then you develop new habits and you realize that, hey, yeah, I could still do a lot of things at a high level. I just have to change how I do them.
Absolutely. All right. We're going to brush through this last topic. We're running out of time here. It's so much fun to talk about this stuff. Aging and strength training. Let's talk benefits. I'm going to start quickly with this one because I teach a class for osteoporosis. Strength training is so vastly important for bone health. Strength training is so important for, our peak bone density is between the age of 30 and 40 years old. After that, we start losing bone. So what you had or have at 30 to 40, if you happen to be younger and listening to this, you have to maintain your strength. Jay talked earlier about our muscles losing muscle mass. I'm telling you, you're also losing bone. So strength, you have to put that resistive force on those bones. Walking, hiking, strength training, resistance bands, body weight, any of that will do. But it's really, really, really important for your bone health, because if not, fractures, osteoporosis is a silent disease. You most likely have a fracture before you even know you have it. So just to keep yourself safe, the percent of women having osteoporosis is pretty high, and men are not out of the loop there. Men get osteoporosis. It's a myth for people to think that that's not the case. So really, really, really important for as we age to start thinking about, again, like Jay said, bone health, it's not sexy, but it's so important for your functionality. And unfortunately, as we age, a hip fracture can be deadly. So we're not just talking, an inconvenience. We're talking about life or death here. All right.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was on my list too. But yeah, I mean, there's so many benefits. You talk about, bone loss and improving or at least delaying the amount of bone we lose through resistance or weight bearing or strength training. The other thing too is slow muscle loss. We already talked about it, 1% a year muscle mass. So if you do any type of strength training consistently, and I can't recommend it, any more than I have, that's a big part of it. And having the right amount of muscle. One of the things to think about too is, for men specifically, testosterone levels they do start dropping, as we age. So if you tended to be a gym rat and you like to, lift weights and you're used to being able to do all that stuff, you can still certainly do it. But I think how we construct our workouts is going to be different. I know we don't have a whole heck of a lot of time here, and this would probably be a great presentation for another time in terms of what would different workouts look like depending on someone's goal. We can certainly do that at some point. But I think about, improving blood sugar control, improving your sleep, cognitive ability, all those things are profoundly affected by strength training. So however you do it, I think you should be doing it.
Yeah, and strength training, again, it doesn't have to be with the meatheads in the back of, I'm a fitness trainer, I'm a certified personal trainer, I work in physical therapy, I teach these classes, and when I walk into a gym, I feel uncomfortable going back there and grabbing the dumbbells. That's just the person that I am. But you're going to find me with the smaller dumbbells, you're going to find me in the private room, you're going to find me doing planking, you're going to body weight, lunges, squats. All of this stuff is great. The more muscle mass you have, the more calories you're burning at rest. So I think that's something, a misconception. They think they have to do all this cardio to burn calories, which does help. I don't want to say, I'm not cutting on cardio. I think cardio is very important, but the more muscle mass that you have, your body needs to expend more energy to maintain that muscle mass.
Yeah. I just wanted to, that's an excellent point. There is a big intimidation factor. And again, I see it a lot, particularly with women or people that just don't have a whole lot of experience with the gym. I'm going to kind of flip that around though, because I think for those that are interested, and one of the things that I try to do is take that intimidation factor out and teach people, particularly women, that you're not going to get big and bulky if you lift heavier weights. If you want to learn how to do that, there's safe ways of doing it. There's nothing wrong with not doing it, but I think sometimes people feel, oh no, I can't do that. I'm going to get hurt, or I'm going to get too big and bulky, or no, I'm not supposed to be doing that. So I think there's a lot of myths on that side of the coin as well. The other thing too is for those that, you know, that do like to lift weights, and I've seen a lot of people, I've spent years and years and years in gym, so I've become a pretty good people watcher. But you know, I see a lot of people, particularly men, that just all they want to do is hit the weights, and you never see them do any type of aerobic activity. And they don't understand that if it's properly put together and properly designed, aerobic activity is going to allow you to lift those weights better. You're going to recover quicker between exercises. You're going to recover quicker between workouts. An improved aerobic base or work capacity is going to help you lift more weights eventually. So I think on both sides of the spectrum there, it's important to note that there is a lot of myths and
a lot of myths.
And educate yourself. It's not as simple as just, oh, you know, those 110-pound dumbbells over there, there's no way in heck I could ever lift them, nor should I. Or the flip side of the coin is, well, you know, even if you are a woman or you're somebody that's new to it, you don't also have to stick with, you know, the 3, 4, 10-pound dumbbells either. I think, you know, there's a lot of variability there. And I think we all owe it to ourselves to, you know, be educated and figure out what works best for us. And that's what we're here for. You know, you certainly come and see me anytime, take one of our classes, stop in my office. We can have a conversation based on what your goals are. But, you know, dispelling those myths, I think is a big part of what we do.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And like I said, the knowledge is there. I know what to do. I know. I just prefer, I'm more of a home workout person. I don't go to gyms and things like that. So no matter,
I think that's great.
Find your passions, but definitely don't be afraid to try new things. Mm-hmm. And most of the women that I talk to, they're so gung-ho on cardio. That's why I don't want to make it sound like I'm anti-cardio. I'm not. I think cardio has, and it's super important for your lung health, for your heart health.
Well, I think if we're going to stereotype, which I don't like to stereotype, but if you think about it, you know, if you take a typical gym setting, a lot of women are going to gravitate towards the cardio machines, and a lot of the guys are going to be in the free weights or the weight section. It's just typically what we see. So I think what you're saying there is a valid point. And I think, again, on both sides, we need to be conscious of that and understand that we need to have a balance of all that stuff.
Absolutely. And there's so many ways to gain it. There's so many ways to gain it. Like Jay said, they have a TheraBand class, which GVPT, I know they teach a TheraBand class there. I was the teacher for many years there. And it's free. I mean, come on. I don't know if that'll ever change, but you can't bat your eyes at free. The Webster Rec Center is always putting things out at a great cost. And like I said, I know Jay personally. I've said hello to a lot of the other people that work there. They're so knowledgeable. And again, Wellness 360, we do group fitness classes for MS, for osteoporosis. There's a lot of myths on osteoporosis and exercise. And my favorite one to debunk is crunches are not good for you with osteoporosis. After the age of 40 or 50, they're like, well,
I have great core strength. I do crunches. And crunches, I don't do them. That's my own personal opinion. We will never do a crunch in my osteoporosis class. But we do core strengthening constantly. There's so many different ways to to strengthen your core. Functionally,
standing, motion, on the floor, planking, you name it. There's hundreds and hundreds of ways.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
I agree. Really quick before we have to sign off here, I did have a question from somebody.
yeah, great.
I had it here someplace. Let me see if I can remember it. I think it was basically
You know what, everybody? I love how Jay waits till the very end to answer your questions. That way you had to listen.
Yeah, there was
it's
method
like
to my madness there.
In the back of the store.
Yeah, I'm not going to name this person, but I hope she's watching. If not, I'll just have to talk to her. But anyway, the question was, how do you combat soreness that you experience when you first start working out? And so a couple different ways of looking at it. Number one, don't just jump into something that is maybe above what your current level is. So if you've been sedentary and then you jump into one of those high intensity interval training classes or a boot camp style class, you're probably going to be sore. So the best thing is just to kind of ease into it, work on some of those foundational movements, build your work capacity or your endurance kind of gradually. So maybe that's something you do on your own, or you come and see one of us, or you take a lower level class that is designed to build work capacity, teach you the basic movements, those type of things. And then again, the other thing is, which we already talked about too, is have a recovery strategy. So making sure you're not overdoing it, instead of maybe back-to-back HIIT classes, maybe there's a recovery day in there. You're doing some of the things we talked about with, foam rolling, recovery breathing, doing some mobility drills, making sure your sleep and your stress management shored up, eating properly, staying hydrated. So very quickly, those are that's kind of how I would attack it. It's nothing mind-blowing certainly, but ease into it and then have a strategy to recover between workouts.
And I find, just to add on to that, I just really feel that being aware of your body, I tell people in physical therapy all the time, ease into it and listen to your body, because your body's going to tell. Your body is a beautiful, beautiful thing. It will tell you when it's too much. And yes, you may have a day of being sore, but then you'll know next time, that might have been a little too much. I'm going to back it off a little. It's going to take some time to develop that relationship with yourself. It's almost like dating for the first time. It takes a little while to find that balance and to respect each other and to really find that good flow, that yin, that yang, that ebb and flow. But hydration, diet, sleep hygiene, like Jay said, and listen to your body. Just listen to your body. Make sure you're getting your recovery. Make sure you're getting hydrated. And I have developed a new, just really quickly in the mindfulness world, as soon as you think of pain as a negative thing, all of a sudden your body designs more receptors to feel pain. So it's really important to develop a new relationship with pain, not making pain be a red alert, but just letting it be a gentle nudge that maybe, oh, I'm a little sore today, so I'm going to take the day off. I'm going to rest. I'm going to move, maybe to go for a walk with the dog, maybe do some breath work, some gentle stretching, and but not go, oh my gosh, I'm in pain. Is something wrong? I overdid it, and beating yourself up over it. It's just there's days that I wake up and I'm sore all the time. I'm like, well, okay, I must have done too much yesterday, so I'm going to take it easy today. I'm going to love myself today. And then tomorrow when we do our workout, I'm going to just back off a little.
I think there's that fine line, knowing what's too much and what's not enough. And we're all individuals. Some of us are on one side of that line. Some of us are on the other side of the line. So it is, life is all about becoming more mindful and being a self-experimenter. Just try different things. Try what works. If your body's telling you that, something's not working, I tell you what, if you're coming out of a class or a workout feeling like crap all the time, there's probably something wrong with the programming of that exercise in what you're doing. Something is obviously missing. So understand that we should be feeling good after exercise, and just kind of figure out what your body's telling you and what you need to do, and we're here to help you if you need further help.
Awesome. All right. So we are concluding another educational talk. Remember, if you have questions or comments, put them down below. Jay and I will post pictures with good body mechanics or answers to your comments. We hope that you continue to follow us on the Wellness 360 Friday night. I think this will be aired at the Webster Rec Center page also. And if you have a topic that you'd like to learn more about, Jay and I are going to be coming together and doing these more frequently. So if there is a topic that you are yearning to learn about in the world of wellness and health, which I think is going to be our next topic, is just what is wellness? What is health? Then list them below. List them below. Stop in, talk to Jay, drop on the line. If you're one of the Wellness 360 followers, throw me an email, info@wellness360fitness.com. We'll post our contact information below, but we are looking to hear from you. We're looking for some feedback, and we want to make sure your questions are answered because we want you to be educated so you can be the best you that you can be.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right, Jay, thank you so much for joining with us, and we will
thank you for having me. This is
talk
fun.
very soon. Thanks, everybody. Hold on.